Texas faces a growing problem when it comes to recruiting and keeping teachers.
It is critical for us to get this right, and it is very difficult to get right because teaching is an extremely difficult profession.
We sit down with the state's Education Commissioner as a task force releases its recommendations to keep teachers from leaving the classroom. Dry conditions and rising demand for water, now a bipartisan thirst for solutions.
Water is as important to a Republican, a Democrat, an independent.
How the need to tackle water issues is bridging party divides at the Capitol. Dozens of doctors with medical licenses suspended, surrendered, or revoked in other states, still practicing in Texas. What state lawmakers are doing now to make the system safer for patients.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. Many Texas school districts face a growing challenge when it comes to recruiting and keeping teachers. Last year, the governor ordered the Texas Education Agency to establish a Teacher Vacancy Task Force to address staffing challenges at public schools. The task force released its report last week with recommendations in 3 areas. First, compensation. That includes a call for lawmakers to increase the amount of per pupil funding allocated to school districts and require that a larger percentage of that money go toward teacher pay. The report also calls for improving training and support for teachers, and it recommended improvements to working conditions, including giving teachers more time for planning. Now those recommendations are in the hands of state lawmakers. Investigator Kelly Wiley spoke one-on-one with TEA Commissioner Mike Morath to get insight on how he views the challenges and what comes next.
You're obviously the top official in Texas when it comes to education, looking over all these different institutions, all these different districts. What has it been like for you personally as a parent to watch so many teachers exit this field at the rate that they are over the last several years in particular?
I have a first grader and a fourth grader here in public school in Austin area, and so we lived this, we experienced this day in, day out. And so there have been disruptions, like a music teacher that left in the middle of the school year for one of my kids, but the school has done, I think, a fairly effective job at supporting educators on that campus, creating a culture of love and discipline, making sure that teachers are supported and respected. But you're going to see that vary from campus to campus.
When we were interviewing teachers who left, a lot of what their issue was, aside from pay, was the impact that these legislative requirements left on them. They described every year there being more and more and more on their plate, and school districts often not even having the time in the school day or the funding to pay them extra for all the additional work they were doing.
And those are all teachers in Austin ISD?
Austin ISD teachers that I spoke with who are on your task force mentioned that this was problematic for them. It wasn't just Austin ISD.
Yeah, it's a difficult. There's no doubt that it is a challenge to teach a classroom full of 20 kids, to try to get them rigorous instruction, get them on grade level, support kids who are behind. You know, one of the great things that our teachers do is they work with all the kids in their classrooms, and they try to differentiate individualized instruction, but it's extremely difficult. It's incumbent upon us to make sure that we have given them the resources that don't require them to work after hours and on nights and weekends.
In your opinion, if the rate of teachers continues like this, leaving the field, what will education look like in Texas if we continue to see teachers leave the profession at this rate?
Yeah, the trend has been, this is not a new trend. This has been a 30-year trend, and this is not specific to Texas. This is education in the United States. The teacher that you were most likely to run into in 1985 had 10 years of experience. So if you think about the distribution of teachers by years of experience, the experience base you were most likely to run into had 10 years of experience. For about the last decade, the teacher that you were most likely to run into was in his or her first year. This, I think, again, begs the question of how do we increase preparation, training, support? How do we increase or improve working conditions, address issues of compensation to help keep our teachers in the classroom longer?
Kelly Wiley joins us now. Commissioner Morath seemed to have more questions than answers when it comes to retaining teachers. Did he suggest potential solutions during your interview?
Well, I asked him that directly, and he said he really views the TEA as having this bird's eye view of all 1,019 school districts in Texas. He says they're in a unique position to be able to take solutions that have worked in some areas of Texas and give those solutions to districts that are still struggling. And this report directly asked the TEA to take on that technical assistance role when it comes to staffing structures, pay structures, and helping work out vacancies in these critical roles like special education.
One big issue at the legislature this session is the push to let parents use public funding to pay for private schooling. What did Commissioner Morath have to say about that and how it could affect public schools?
Well, first he started off with this is really in the hands of the legislature and what they decide. But when we asked him about the outlook for school funding as it relates to school vouchers, this is what he had to say.
What I know with certainty is since I've been here and before, over the last 10 years, per pupil spending in the state of Texas on public education and total spending in Texas on public education has increased pretty significantly every single year. And I don't have any reason to think that trend is going to change in the near future.
Kelly, you reported about leaked audio of a conversation with a high-ranking TEA official. He admitted that public school funding could drop if voucher-like school funding programs pass at the Capitol. That's different from what Morath is saying about money for schools, right?
Right, and the recording was of Steve Leschelo. He's the Deputy Commissioner of Governance at the TEA, and in that audio he was talking to a parent that he was saying that public school districts would lose money likely if they were to do funding under a school choice plan. And I asked Commissioner Morath directly about this in the implications of what Leschelo said. How can school districts trust that the state agency they are accountable to has their best interest at heart after hearing that audio?
Yeah, our mission at the agency is to provide leadership, guidance, and support to school districts to improve student outcomes. So we have got to address the needs of our students by supporting our school districts. That is what we do. Now we want to make sure that we serve our parents. There is a complaint process that we also oversee, and we need to ensure that it's fair and balanced, that we have an appropriately objective lens to it. It is our objective to make sure that we have a completely objective support system for schools throughout the state. Our success is dependent upon the success of our local school districts, and we want to ensure that we provide them the leadership, guidance, and support that we can.
I also asked Morath if there has been any discussion of whether it was acceptable for a deputy TEA commissioner to say something like that to a parent. He said that question has been addressed in a statement that they provided to us from Leschelo. And in it, Leschelo called his comments emotionally charged and unbecoming of someone in his position. And he also said that he was sorry. He wrote that his comments did not reflect the fair and impartial governance support that TEA strives to provide on a daily basis. Leschelo also wrote that what he said in the recording did not reflect his personal opinion or the stance of the TEA.
All right, Kelly, thank you very much for joining us. You can see more of the interview with Commissioner Morath online now. Just look for this story right now in the Texas Politics section of our website. You can also scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you directly to that section.
A new bill aims to ban voting sites on Texas college campuses. Opponents call it voter suppression, while the lawmaker behind the bill says it's about keeping students safe. Dry conditions bring new attention to the state's growing demand for water, how plans at the legislature are targeting solutions and bridging political divides.